Pastor John. I'm Hannah. Welcome to our new series. John, do you know what the title of this is? Is it like that one song?
Yeah, by that one rapper.
He's like bald or something.
Yeah.
Would the real Jesus please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand. Okay, you get it. New series, and we are talking about, this series is all leading up to Easter, right? Easter is Jesus' resurrection. It is showing that he is the Messiah. It is the fulfillment of our entire faith, right? And so we're talking about Jesus being in this, the Messiah in the context of other religions. We're going there,
We're
Crave.
going there.
We're going to do
ready.
it. We're going to talk about it. So we have actually 3 today.
Whoa.
3 of them. I know. Strap in, right?
Get ready.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be good.
And so we have some basic questions that we're going to answer today of each of these different belief systems. But I want to be clear that no matter where you are in your faith journey, we want to invite you into this conversation. So if you're watching right now and you're saying, I don't know that I believe in who Jesus is, we're so glad that you're here, and we want you to stay and we want you to listen to this. Maybe you're saying, I actually identify with one of these 3 religions that John's going to talk about today. Hey, we're so glad that you're here, and we want you to be in this conversation.
Yes.
And if you're saying, I love Jesus, and I want to know more about these other religions because I want to strengthen my faith and my belief in who Jesus is, guess what? Again, we're so glad that you're here. And so we want this to be a good conversation that we can have. And we understand that people have different beliefs. We live in a world where not everybody believes the same thing. And so what do we do with that? And really the main question that we're asking today is, what does this look like when it comes to Jesus? What are these beliefs when it comes to Jesus? Because Jesus is the center of our faith. So we're going to get started. We're going to talk, and we're going to talk each of these separately, but this is going to be a conversation, and truthfully, John, I'm going to learn a lot today because there's some things that you're going to tell that I don't even know. So I might even jot some notes down while you're talking. So you guys should too. Get your notes out. Get your notes out. And this might be a little different than your normal Crave message because it's a little bit more informational, but we think it's really important that you guys understand not just like the story of Jesus at Easter and the resurrection, but why he actually is the Messiah, why he is the answer. Would the real Jesus please stand up? All right? You ready? Should we start this thing off?
Let's go.
All right. So we're talking about atheism first thing. So John, tell us, what's atheism? How was it started? Who started it? And what are some of like the main things about what atheists believe?
Okay, so atheism, and you guys will notice, we're trying to be very, very fair.
Yep.
Okay, so to my atheist friends, okay, atheism is just a lack of belief in gods, okay? And once again, we're being very fair. Atheists have many different beliefs, all right? They're not all the same, okay? But notice, I said atheist friends. Some of you have friends at school who don't believe in God. They are not your enemy, because they don't believe in God. The Bible actually says in Ephesians 6:12 that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. People who don't believe in God, they're not our enemies, but the Bible actually says that it is the devil. 2 Corinthians 4:4, if you're taking notes, write these scriptures down. 2 Corinthians 4:4 says, but the God of this world, that's the enemy, has blinded the minds of people so that they don't see Jesus and they don't believe. So we as Christians, we're not in conversation with them to win an argument. Remember, don't win an argument but lose a friend.
Ooh,
don't win an argument but lose a friend.
Good word.
We want them to see the Jesus that we have come to know. Crave, remember, found people want to find people. That's what you want to do. You're like, I found Jesus. It's great. It's awesome. And I just want this atheist friend to know the same. I want to help them see Jesus. Okay, so the thing about atheism is when you're thinking about when it started, I was digging and digging and digging. Like, when did it start? Who did it start with? But really, I came down on a Bible verse because in Psalm 14:1, it says this. It says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. So really, atheism and a lack of belief in gods. I'm using the definition of atheism. That's the definition, a lack of belief in gods. But we believe there's one God, right? But it's always been around. Atheism has always been around. And like we said, some of the main things that they believe is it's so different. So here we have a Bible, right? We as Christians, we look to this for our beliefs. We form our beliefs around this. What's right? What's wrong? What do I believe? And this all binds us together as Christians. But when you think about an atheist, the one thing that binds them together is just that belief in a lack of gods. So with our atheist friends, there's many different kinds of atheists, right? Because and they vary because they don't have like a holy book that they look to. It's just that one thing that ties them all together, a lack of belief in God. So there's many different kinds of atheists. So some things that we don't agree with, as well, what beliefs do we not agree with? We obviously don't agree with the fact that there is no God, right?
Right. Amen.
We believe that there is a God. That one's pretty simple there. Some beliefs that we have in common are really none. And that's
Zero.
Okay. That is absolutely okay. Remember, they're not our enemy.
Yeah.
But, we believe that Jesus is the answer to
We do.
salvation.
We do.
But what does an atheist believe? Does an atheist believe that? And the answer to that would be no, because obviously atheists, they don't believe in God, and we believe that Jesus is God. All right? And I want you to stick with me. This is learning about why your faith is true. This is growing your faith. We're going to be using terms that you may not be familiar with, but I'm going to explain it. A lot of atheists would consider themselves what's called a naturalist or naturalism, okay? And think nature, think natural. So they only believe in what they can see around them. So for an atheist, there's nothing beyond this life. There's no heaven. There's no hell. Really, death is the end. And I would just encourage anybody who maybe is out there as an atheist is, man, figure out if Christianity is true.
Right.
Figure it out. Dig in, because what an amazing hope to know that death is not the end.
Right.
That death is actually an upgrade.
Come on.
Because you get to go to
Come on.
heaven. You get to go to be with Jesus. There's no more crying. There's no more pain.
Yeah.
All of the worries and sorrows of this world are gone. So if you're in that place, you're like, I don't know if I believe in God, it's worth figuring it out.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right?
The hope in Jesus.
Yes.
That's good.
So really, those are our questions about atheism.
Yeah,
there.
that's so good. I think you described that well too, John, of like that need, the differences, like our hope. Our hope is very different. So again, if you're a friend of ours in the house who has that same belief, we encourage you to just dive into what this means and let this be the day that you do it.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
And I was even, just thinking too, like because some of you probably, like, why do people not believe in God? And, for some people, it certainly is a logical thing. And that's what we're going to go into later. They just say, I don't think there's enough evidence. But for some people, and it's even helpful to ask people and get them thinking, because we want people to get thinking. Like, have you ever had a rock in your shoe?
Yes.
And it just bothers you? You're like, oh, I got to get this rock out of my shoe. And that's sometimes what we want to do for people. We want to put a rock on their shoe. We want to get them thinking about something. And sometimes people don't believe in God, and it's not because of an evidential reason. It's really because it's something they're doing in their life that they don't want accountability for. Some people are on a truth quest, and some people are on a happiness quest.
Ooh. It's a difference.
They don't want God to exist because of what it means for their personal life. And, something maybe if you're ever in a conversation with an atheist friend, ask them, if I could give you undeniable proof of Jesus being the Son of God, would you become a Christian? If the answer is no, then it's most likely not an issue of I don't have enough evidence. It's that there's something that they're doing in their life that they feel like Christianity might change. And I think that's, if you're ever in a situation where you really want to try to put a rock in their shoe, because we love them and we want them to start thinking, maybe ask that question. If I could give you undeniable proof that Christianity was true, would you become a Christian? And if the answer is no, you might be able to understand why they don't believe. It might be something else. And, there's a pastor named Tim Keller who has went to his reward now to be with Jesus, and he passed away, and he had a student come home from college one year, and he said, Pastor, I don't believe in God anymore. And he was just very straight with him. And I don't know the exact words or what he said, but it was along these lines. He said, okay, how long you been sleeping with your girlfriend? Oh! And you could tell the guy got him, right?
Yeah.
Got him, right? And he's like, you didn't have an evidence issue. This is a heart issue.
Ooh.
Once you started doing something that you knew you weren't supposed to be doing before marriage, it got really easy to not believe in God. So that's just something to help you. Sometimes white people don't believe there's deeper issues. There's a thing behind the thing.
That's so good.
I don't want to go longer, but this is to help you guys.
Yeah, that's so good. It's getting to know people and loving them well and showing them what you believe. So super good. So let's dive into this second one. So something called agnosticism. Weird, kind of sounds like a disease, like a sickness, like bronchitis. But it's not. So
it's not.
What is it? Agnosticism. Tell us what it is.
Okay,
how it started.
So right, another really big word, but it is simply somebody who just says, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who really is kind of taking like a neutral stance on the issue. Okay, so the word agnostic or agnosticism, this comes and was invented in the late 19th century by a man named T.H. Huxley. And he pretty much said the person who doesn't believe in God, they don't have enough evidence to prove that he doesn't exist. But then he said to the people who believe in God, you don't have enough evidence to prove that he does exist. So what he was saying is we just need to say that we don't know one way or the other. We don't have enough evidence one way or another. So a person who says, I'm agnostic, just says, I don't know. I'm just taking a neutral stance on the issue of is there a God or not. So
interesting. Yeah. So what are some things would you say in agnosticism that we don't agree with? Or do agree with?
So the thing about when I was thinking about what do we agree with agnosticism, and I thought something that we certainly agree with is they are not closed off to the idea of God being a reality. They're just saying, I don't know. Right. So there's still an openness there, and we would certainly agree with that. Hey, be open, investigate, don't close your mind off to it.
Yeah.
So something that we don't agree with as Christians is the claim that there's not enough evidence. Okay? And I'm going to tell you guys what I mean by that, because many of you, and as Hannah's already alluded to, you have questions, right? And you've probably asked this and maybe never voiced it. Is there evidence for what I believe?
Yeah.
And I want to dig in. What are we talking about when we talk about evidence? Okay? In America, in our court system, there's two kinds of evidence. There is direct evidence, and there's non-direct evidence, or called circumstantial evidence. And don't check out. We're going to explain what these means. We're going to do a little situation that would help you. Here's what direct evidence is.
Here it is.
Let's say you're at home, Crave, and you just had an amazing quiet time of remaining in the Lord's glory.
Come on now.
Like we talked about it one night.
That's right.
And you're just hanging out. You say, okay, that was great. And you're just watching TV, and all of a sudden you hear a blood-curdling scream come from next door. Oh. And you say, what just happened? What was that? So you jump up, you run to the window, and you see your neighbor's boyfriend fleeing the scene and jumping into his truck. Your neighbor has been knocked unconscious and beaten very badly. Oh. Okay? So she can't tell the police what happened. So the law enforcement comes to you and you say, hey, I saw my neighbor's boyfriend fleeing the scene and running away right after the crime. Mm-hmm. That's direct evidence. You say, I saw him. Mm-hmm. He was there, okay? Here's what non-direct evidence here is. We're gonna make it harder. Let's say you're watching TV. You hear the scream. You run, you jump up, you look out the window, and there's a man running away. He's about 6 foot, and he's wearing a ski mask. You don't know who this dude is. It could be a girl, too. You just don't know, right? Because they're wearing a mask. So law enforcement comes, and they question you. And you say, yeah, he was about 6 foot. He was wearing a ski mask, and he jumped into a blue Ford truck. Okay, so police start investigating, and they see there's no signs of forced entry. So that means whoever did this crime was either let in willingly or they had a key.
Ooh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
so they start investigating this girl's boyfriend.
Ooh.
And you say, and they look it up, and they're like, this dude's 6'1".
Oh, close.
And he has a blue Ford F-250 truck registered to his name. Ooh.
If the shoe fits.
This is circumstantial evidence because all of that points to him as the one who committed the crime. Do you see where I'm going here, Craig? What we have as Christians is tons and tons of circumstantial evidence that points to the existence of God. Does that make sense? Some of you probably were like, was I just on a crime show or something? Like, what is going on? So, what do I mean by circumstantial evidence that God exists? Let's take the beginning of the universe.
Yeah.
We know, right? The universe had a birthday.
Yep.
The universe has not always existed, okay? It came into existence. And what we as humans, we all know cause and effect. Whatever exists has to have a cause.
Yep.
Okay? So what caused the universe to come into existence, okay? So there's an award-winning scientist named Francis Collins, and he said this, or you may have heard the beginning of the universe called the Big Bang, okay? But Francis Collins, he's an award-winning scientist, he says this, the Big Bang cries out for a divine explanation. Oof. It forces the conclusion that nature had a defined beginning. I cannot see how nature could have created itself. Only a supernatural force that is outside of space and time could have done that. So what Francis Collins here is saying, if space came into existence, if time came into existence, and if nature came into existence, that means that something outside of those things must have created them, because nature's not going to create itself.
Right.
It can't. So he's saying this points to the existence of a beginner.
That's good.
Because what begins points to a beginner. Does this make sense, Crave? Also, even think about this. It's even been noted, and it's even stunned, scientists. We know that the laws of physics, some of you're probably going to take physics, or you already are. We know that the laws of physics would have had to exist before the Big Bang.
Ooh.
Or the universe couldn't even expand. Think about that. Where did the laws of physics come from?
Come on.
Who created them?
Right.
What does that point to? A mind.
Yep.
Only a mind is going to create the laws of physics and put them where they need to be.
Right.
What is this? It points to the existence of God.
That's good.
This is circumstantial evidence for the existence of God. And I just want you guys to know, people in courts every day are told that circumstantial evidence is just as valuable.
Right.
It's not a lesser evidence, okay?
That's good.
So that was a little bit longer, but I wanted to clarify, yes, we have evidence, and clarify what are we talking about when we talk about evidence.
No, that's
so
good. That's good.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me, and if you want to add anything else, John, but that question of Jesus. So this whole series is talking about why Jesus is the answer. Why is he the answer to our salvation? In the context of Easter, again, why is he Messiah? In all these other religions, why is he Messiah? So do agnostic people believe that Jesus is the answer? I think we can guarantee what we know that.
So just because of their stance on there's, and if somebody is here and you would consider yourself agnostic, which thank you for being open. Maybe take what we just said about evidence into account. There is evidence.
Yep.
So you can know that Jesus is the way,
Yeah.
right? So, but the answer would be no, they wouldn't believe that Jesus is the way if you would stick to there's not enough evidence.
Yeah.
So,
So I have a quick question with that.
Yes.
You know, there was somebody who asked me a question, and I shared this at one night about how, you know, we have doubts. So am I agnostic if I like have doubts about God? Like, how does that work? If there's some things where I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. I'm confused. I'm still learning. I got a lot of questions. Would I be considered agnostic if that's kind of where I'm at and I'm still exploring my faith in Jesus?
I don't think you would be considered agnostic because I've had doubts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of your leaders would express that they've had doubts. It's really a part of growing in your faith. I mean, it's just doubts are going to come.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you're agnostic, but I just want to encourage you guys and just take the fear away. If you come to Hannah or I, or you come to Pastor John and Morrison, or you come to Austin, or you come to one of your tribe leaders and you say, I'm doubting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not sure. You will not be put down.
Right.
You won't be thought of as any less of a Christian.
Yep.
I always tell our students in Polo, this is a safe place to doubt.
Right.
Because I want to answer your questions.
Yep.
If you're going to ask questions, I want to answer them. If you're going to ask questions, Hannah wants to answer them.
Yeah.
Right? Because like we just talked about, there's answers to your questions. There are good reasons to believe what we believe. So I would say don't consider yourself an agnostic because you're doubting, but keep asking questions. Keep reading the word, you know? So just keep growing in your understanding. I only know this kind of stuff because I've studied it.
Right.
And I've watched YouTube videos from different guys who really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're called apologists, okay?
Yeah.
But just keep searching it. It doesn't mean you're an agnostic
Yeah.
because doubts are going to come.
Yep.
So-
Doubts are natural. Doubts are real. That's
Yeah.
good. So we're going to wrap this up a little bit, but we have one more, okay? And so I know we're hitting the end here. You've hung in with us, but we really want to dive in with this one. This is our last question. So it's one called relativism. So John, what is relativism? What are the main beliefs? How was it started? All the good stuff there.
Okay, so relativism really is the belief, it's a belief about truth. And it says what is true for one person may not be true for another person, that truth depends on your culture and how you were brought up. And that truth is really a matter of personal preference and feeling. And that's how we determine truth, okay? And it really, I'll kind of give you a history of how it started in the U.S. and where it kind of grew from. But really, relativism it's always been around because we as humans, we want to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And in Judges 21:25, it says this, in those days there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So even in Bible days,
It's true.
people wanted to do what was right
Yeah.
in their own eyes. They didn't want to look to God to truth, but they wanted to say, what do I prefer?
Yeah.
Right? But for us as Americans, relativism really took off in the 1960s in a time called the sexual revolution. And this was a time, and really it had been growing for a century, but it really caught fire here, okay? So it started to grow during this time where people were really just saying, don't tell me what to do. They were throwing off rules handed down from generations before them. You know, there was things people were saying this during this time. If it feels good, do it. Do your own thing and live for today. That was in the 1960s is what people were saying. So really, it was a time where people were throwing off rules.
Yeah.
And they were just saying,
Whatever.
do what feels good, right? So that's where this came from, okay? So it was really just a rejection of rules, and it certainly is something to consider, Crave. Happiness levels have been dropping in the U.S. since the 1960s.
Boy, That's real.
It's something to think about. It really is.
That is.
So let's see. So beliefs we don't agree with relativism
Beliefs we don't agree with.
would obviously be we believe that there is truth, okay? So Jesus said in John 17:17, sanctify them in the truth, your word is truth. Okay, so us as disciples, we're disciples of Jesus. That means you're a learner. That means you're a student. So we as disciples, we don't determine our truth by preference or feeling. We determine our truth from our teacher, Jesus.
Yeah.
Since he is our teacher, since we are learners, what he says is truth, right? So we look to this for truth. It says your word is truth, and Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and right, when we hear something, we say, what does the Bible say about it? Is it truth? Is it right? Is it wrong? Okay? So because we believe that Jesus was the Son of God.
Yeah.
So if he says something is true, it's true.
Right.
And we believe he's the Son of God because he was raised from the dead. And this is the core claim of Christianity. Everything rests upon this, okay? But we believe that Jesus raised from the dead is because, and maybe you haven't considered this before, is Jesus said, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses, and it's going to go to the ends of the earth.
Come on.
He said this Christianity is going to spread to the ends of the earth. Guys, today, there are 2.3 billion Christians on the earth.
That's right.
It has spread, and it is spreading to the very ends of the earth.
That's right.
Jesus' life has impacted the entire globe.
Yeah.
Today, the whole entire world follows a calendar that is based around the birth of Jesus.
Good word.
Based around the birth of Jesus. Jesus has impacted this world in a way that nobody ever could.
Right.
I'm sorry if I'm going too long, but I just want to tell you guys, you have reasons to believe what you believe. A historian named H.G. Wells said this. He said, I'm a historian. I'm not a believer. But I must confess as a historian, this penniless preacher from Nazareth is irrevocably the very center of history. Jesus Christ is easily the most dominant figure in all of history. Because he is the most dominant figure in all of history, and he has impacted the globe like nobody else could. There's other reasons. There's thousands and thousands of cities named after him.
Yeah.
Okay, but because he is the most dominant figure in all history, there was something else about him, wasn't there?
That's right.
And that's because he was the Son of God.
That's good.
So if he says something is true, it's true.
Yep.
And that's why we get our truth from him.
Yeah.
Okay, and really, we don't agree with this because it kind of backs you into a strange corner.
Yeah.
If you say there is no truth and truth is, just dependent on my feelings and on culture, you really put yourself in a weird place because if that's the case, Adolf Hitler wasn't wrong.
Oof.
You can't say that Adolf Hitler did anything wrong by murdering millions of Jews.
Wow. Man.
If somebody broke into your house and took all your family's valuables, you couldn't say they did anything wrong.
Gosh.
That was just okay for them. They were in need, so they felt that was okay for them.
Wow.
And it just, guys, you get what I'm saying? It backs you into a really weird corner.
Yeah.
When there's no right and wrong and everybody gets to decide it.
Yeah. Your own moral compass.
Yeah, your own moral compass. And that's why we lock our doors at night.
Right.
We're afraid of people who want to determine their own truth.
Ooh.
We're afraid because they can decide it's okay, right?
Yeah.
So, and there is truth, guys. And I just want to illustrate it by this. Okay, here's how we know what truth is. Okay, here's a statement. There is a giant stormtrooper behind me. Okay, why is that true? That statement is true because it corresponds with reality. You want to know what truth is? Truth is what corresponds and honors reality. Does that make sense? My statement is true because it's reality. Guys, we used to believe as humans the earth was flat, okay? But then we got out into space and we said, oh, look,
It's not.
it's a sphere.
Whoa.
It's circle.
It's crazy.
Whoa. So that statement, the earth is flat, was proven false by what? Reality.
Ooh.
There
Come
is
on.
truth because there is reality.
Yeah.
So even the claim that there is no truth is not true
Yeah.
because there's reality.
It's good.
And there are things that are true for all of us. And even if you say there is no truth, that's a truth statement. So what you're saying cannot be true.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
If there is no truth, then that statement cannot be true. Okay, so I think we've gone way over, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so beliefs that we have in common, just to be fair to all of our friends who see this and believe it this way, relativism really is it's a push to be respectful of other people's views. Okay, so that certainly is one thing we do agree with because the word says that when we share the reason for the hope we have,
Yeah.
we're to do it with respect and gentleness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, good. And then last thing is just, what's Jesus have to do with this? Do they believe? And no,
and
not
you're right.
definitively.
They would a person who sees life in this way would say no because it excludes
Yeah,
all the other religions, and
Right.
that's what we're going to talk about.
That's right.
in the coming weeks. So
that's good. Well, Crave, you hang with us. You stuck it out. Thank you so much, Pastor John, for all of the information, atheism, agnosticism, relativism. I'm going to just pray for you quickly, but thank you for learning and understanding. Jesus, we just pray that this information that was downloaded to us today, we would respond to it with grace and truth. And God, that we would be able to love people better with the context of knowing how much you love them and the way that you want us to share your gospel. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
amen.